Alright, hello, and welcome to the first ever video by Alien Girl for Humanity. Spilled some wine over here. Hope that's not a problem. I drink wine. Cheers. Anyway, I was thinking about what it means to be humane, and I wanted to look up the definition, so let's do it. I actually already did it, to be completely honest with you. I looked up the definition, but so we're on the same page. Let's see what Merriam has to say about being humane. So, we all trust Merriam-Webster at this point, or at least we don't have a better dictionary source at this time. So, humane, the definition is marked by compassion, sympathy, or consideration for humans or animals. Now, question I ask you, is the government humane? No, I wouldn't say that they are humane, and that's fair because they can't be compassionate because they have goals, they have agendas. They're not just, sorry, moving my phone. They're not just they can't be compassionate for everyone because they have to be direct and driven and have a plan and be logical and objective. So they have to have objective goals and accomplish those regardless of compassion. So what I would ask is, what are those goals? Who is the government serving? And if it's not the vast majority, then why do we have government? I mean, we need order, that's for sure. Some people would say yes, some people would say no. But is it possible to be objective, logical, well planned out, and compassionate? Is it possible? I don't know. I would like to use my imagination to think of a world where that was possible. Something else I was thinking about was this article that I read on a website. I don't remember the name of, I'll put in the comments later, but it was talking about masculine and feminine energies and false representations of masculine and feminine energies. And the first example they used was a false feminine energy. And the example that they used to describe this phenomenon was a leader who claims to be a victim, who pretends to be weak in order to have loyal, unquestioning followers. So they create a false enemy where one doesn't exist in order to have loyal followers that don't question them or see them as a threat because they're the victim. They're the passive force. They're the abused. They're the victim. So therefore, they are not the enemy. And sometimes bad leaders will use this false sense of femininity to hide their abusive power. And feminine is not always a victim. It is not always weak. It is not always abused. It's just a way of describing a phenomenon that I read on a website. So I don't think feminine, I don't think that feminine energy is inherently weak. It's just more receiving than giving in some definitions. But who even knows what feminine and masculine energy is? The other example was that of fake masculinity, which I found really interesting. Because the example that they used was of the soldier. And when you think of a soldier, at least for me, I think of total example of masculinity because they're strong, they're fighting, they're killing, they have sweat and blood, they're wearing uniforms, and it seems very masculine. However, they're taking orders. they have no sense of self, they have no identity, they have no control over their own behavior and plan for behavior in the future. They're literally taking orders from another person above them, who in turn is taking orders from someone above them. So the soldier is a really receptive role. If you want to think of, which maybe you don't, but for the sake of this analogy, if you want to think of feminine energy as being receptive, that's extremely receptive. It's not a creative force at all. It's not giving, it's not creating, it's not leadership. It's basically being a bitch to your person in control of you, because you don't have a say. And I think that the point of this, regardless of what it means to have masculine and feminine energy, which, by the way, does not mean being male or female. It's unrelated to biological sex. This idea of gendered energy, and it's just a way to describe something. People aren't gonna, I mean, it's not like all encompassing, and I might talk about that in another video. But the point is that if you use different words, which is receptive or providing energy, one that gives, one that takes, then it's funny how we get tricked by appearances. We see someone who looks like they're in control, and we think that they're a leader, they're in control, they're dominant, but really it's just an appearance because they're taking orders from someone else and they have no sense of self. Or in the reverse, you see someone who looks fragile and frail and timid and abused, and it's just, that's how they appear, but in reality they've created a false enemy in order to use their power without any kind of checks and balances, because they seem like a victim, so no one would assume that they are in fact the perpetrator of harm. Anyways, these were the two things that I was thinking about: false energy appearances and what it means to be humane, and what it means to have a government. Because if the government's not humane, then who exactly are they benefiting? And if they're not benefiting us, then why do we continue to support them? Because without our support, there would be no government. And is there a better way? Is there a government, a leadership, an order that could incorporate compassion for everyone equally while still being objective, planned out, and logical? I don't know. You can answer that question in the comments below. Thank you.